Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Bree Noble, and I am back here again with my great friend Tara Brueske, and we are talking about AI. Oh, we might be glutton for punishment this time.
Yes.
I just think as a couple of Gen Xers, I
hmm
think we have an interesting take on it. Having grown up like through the computer revolution and all of that. And it's just
Right.
interesting to see too, because I have kids that are Gen Z and seeing the way they're
Mhm.
reacting to it. Also, it's such a hot topic, a controversial topic in the music world right now. And
Yes.
it also does afford us like a lot of help as solopreneurs. So we want to cover all of that, which might be a little
hmm
much for one show, but we'll see. So how do we even begin this conversation? What do you think?
Well, I can just say like where do you see it being used, especially right now, as far as like the sound part of it in songs? Because I do think it's kind of all over the place. And where have you noticed it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll start out by saying I don't use it for sound, but of course, I'm not recording right now. You know what I mean?
hmm
So, the only recording I do is doing demos for other people. And obviously, I'm not going to like say, here's a vocal of me, and it's not, because I'm lazy.
hmm
So, I don't use it for sound recording at all. I, at least for singing. What I do use it for definitely is other things, which we'll get into, but where I see it is as the music director, well, whatever, founder, Women of Substance radio podcast, right? I'm getting submissions all the time from
Mm.
people. And I have tried so hard to explain that my stance on this particular platform is I want to elevate human women, human female artists, human female fronted bands.
hmm
But I still, so to me, like for this platform itself, like I'm not judging against songwriters who use AI. I understand, like as a songwriter, it's been so expensive for you to create demos, and it's like probably so freeing to be able to create these things and get your creation out there. And I totally understand that. But I also would say, like, for my platform, I have chosen to want to highlight human female artists. And if you think that you're submitting music and you're going to fool me, maybe in a year you will. But right now, we were talking about like some of the things that people do with AI music, especially singing, are like not
Yeah.
natural, which I think
They're
is great to
not.
have Tara here as a voice teacher of like, what are you hearing in AI music that people are thinking that someone's going to be fooled by that?
Well, yeah, I the thing that I hear so often, and I've had a couple of friends that, just for the fun of it, they're using like the apps, like you said, I think Suno, and then what's the other one?
Udio, I think it
Udio.
is.
Um, and I remember a friend of mine, she had sent me like recently a couple different songs, and honestly, it was just she was just kind of saying like, these are pretty good, aren't they? Like just kind of saying what AI can come up with. And I agreed, like the song itself was catchy, but the vocals, especially the female vocals that I've heard, they are so high, like they're taking chest voice so incredibly high. Like you said, kind of like the Mariah Carey
They're
or Whitney
belting into
Houston,
the
but
stratosphere.
they
Yes.
are, and it's
We all know that
honestly
that's mostly not
it's
possible.
it mostly isn't. I mean, there are a few people I suppose that can, so I can't
Yeah.
say totally because obviously it's taking from voices on the internet, but it's like every song they will do that. That's what I notice. It's always putting it in a key that's so high and taking or the range and
Yeah.
like so rangy. And to me that's not real and people can't really sing along with it actually. And
No.
then, and if you did it live, which again, this is the humanness that AI can never do, like doing a live show, that is a human. I mean, I guess you could have a human lip syncing,
Ugh.
you know,
Yeah.
let's not
Milli
go back to
Vanilli all
those
over
days.
again. Yeah.
Yeah. But that is my take on it that I have heard like right away that I think, yeah, why does every song have to do that? And I think that can even kind of tell you sometimes that it is AI created.
I think too the dynamics, like you feel assaulted by the song. I mean, it's like it's so like in your
Yeah,
even if it's trying to be like a softer song, I just feel like there's no nuance to the voice.
you're right.
And you're not hearing like those
Yeah.
little human quirks that makes an artist an artist. It's all
Yes.
smoothed over.
Yes. And so here's something, because I was talking to actually another musician about this too recently, where has there been AI type things that have been used in music for the last couple of years? And I mean, would you even put that like when people do a lot of looping, is that something that is
Yeah. Yeah,
I,
I
I don't
mean,
know if I'd call that AI or
I don't
not,
know
but
that it's AI, but then you think about like the vocal tuning and stuff. That's
yeah,
kind of AI.
yeah. So I mean, some of that has been a part of recordings for a while, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I agree with like the instrumental, right? Like the ability to create like full orchestrations out of like a few like four bar,
Yeah.
like that has been possible for quite a while now.
Hmm. Yeah. So to me, those are ways of spotting, but like you said, the nuances too that it's, it is kind of in your face. It's like a ballad is never truly a ballad. Or,
No, and I find myself just looking for the rawness, which is so weird because I used to
yes,
always be like, we have this level of production, it has needs to be radio
right.
ready and all that. And now I'm feeling like I'm just really craving something that's acoustic and you can hear like the guitar, squeak or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like I want to know
Mhm.
this is real.
Well, and so also as a voice teacher, I was just thinking this because I'm back to teaching some in-person lessons and I have some younger students, and so they're listening to whatever is out there and whatever is the newest creation, whether it's a real human artist or not. And it's amazing to me because like kids do, just like I probably did, they're going to always try to emulate, like,
Hmm.
match exactly. But again, if we've got AI generated, it's not even within a range that's available to especially like younger voices.
Yeah, no, yeah, they can't emulate that and they
Mm-mm.
shouldn't.
And they shouldn't.
They shouldn't hurt themselves. I mean, you can't sustain that,
Yeah. So
right? I
that
think.
to me, that is sort of I guess a negative maybe part of AI that I would
Yeah, that's
see.
a good point. It's making them think that they should be able to do things with their voice that especially younger voices, you can't do that right
Yeah.
now, and you're going to hurt you're going to like overblow your voice and damage it trying to do those things. So that's a really good point. I do want to say, like I said earlier about songwriters, like I sympathize, right? And I think it's
Hmm.
it's great that you can create a demo that way. I think you should then move on to finding an artist to record your song and you can use that demo to do
Mm.
that because I think there's just going to be less and less desire no matter how great. I have a lot of comments back to people that are like, "Hey, these lyrics are really good. And this melody is good, and whether they wrote it or not, I can't be sure. But I'm not drawn to this, and also I don't want to promote it because it's not a human artist." And they write back to me and they say, "Oh, I'm just so thankful that you liked the lyrics because I actually wrote them." So sometimes
Oh,
it's them
yeah.
just using this as a way to bring their creation to life. And I appreciate that. I had a friend way back, I'm at 2002, um, who had like ALS and he literally could not move other than, he could speak. And so
Oh,
he spoke his songs into existence by using things like the looping we were talking about. And for
yeah.
those, I mean, I'm so thankful that this exists for people like that
Mm.
and that he was able to write songs and I recorded some of them as a vocalist and it's amazing that that technology is there and I'm not going to deny people the ability to use that just because I don't like it.
Yeah.
I just think it's good for us to like say, well, I've just had to draw a line in the sand as far as my platform, which has
Hmm.
been hard because then people are pushing back. Well, but this is the modern way but like, I'm not trying to be old fashioned. I just need to have a line.
Yeah. So where do you think Bree is in the recording part of it? the music or whatever, where do you think is a good place for people to use it? I mean, you kind of
I,
said as a
I
demo, that.
Yeah, as a demo, I think helping you. We've had conversations inside of my FMA group about, is it AI if like you just can't find a flugelhorn player and you really want a flugelhorn on this part,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you can't afford to pay somebody directly, and if I just used it for that, would that then be AI music? There's this whole conversation around AI generated versus AI assisted. And AI
Mm,
generated is literally where you like write a prompt and say, write a song about this. I wanted to include
right.
this and la la la. And it writes
Right.
the whole thing, right? Like your friend was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and you see this on ads. Like they write a song that's about like GLP-1s. Have you seen these ads? And they're like, this catchy song about when you take a GLP-1 and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is so nauseating. Stop using music for this. They're
Really?
basically, yeah, my kids are showing me like people, like songs that were created out of a text string. And I'm like,
Oh
this
my
is so
goodness.
hideous. I hate it. I hate
Yeah.
it so much. And some of them are going viral and all that. But I think like in the assistance of, like I said, like helping you create a demo where then you could shop it to an artist,
Mm-hmm.
creating maybe some help with the instrumentals. That's considered AI assisted, as well as like the songwriting side, which is even more hard to track, right? Because they
Mm-hmm.
can't, it's really hard to say if I used an AI to help me write my lyrics or help me write the melody. Whether it like I asked it to give me some ideas and that like sparked it or brought some things together, or if I just said,
Sure.
hey, write this thing, and it wrote the whole thing. So that's where it gets
Mm-hmm.
really hard for the industry to be able to tell, because now they're like marking things AI generated or AI
Yeah.
assisted. But I do think it can be really helpful for generating ideas for songwriting. When I think about back in the day, I had like those um CD of like a CD-ROM, right? Of like
Mm-hmm.
this I'm trying to remember that I can never oh Master Writer. I always forget the name of it. Master Writer.
Oh.
And it's like a idea generator, right? It would help
Mm-hmm.
you come up with that. Well, you're writing a song around this. Here are a bunch of words that could help you spark ideas. And I
Yeah.
remember when I was writing one of my songs, the prompt in my songwriting class was like, write it about an inanimate object. And I wrote my song called My Front Door. And it was all like a metaphor of like whether I was going to, welcome people in or not. And I was talking about, homeless people
Yeah.
and things like that. And I was like, I need a name, a word for like some kind of cigarette, because like to me that like showed that they were a certain kind of person that I maybe, didn't feel like I wanted to welcome. And I'm like, I don't know names of cigarettes. And I'm looking in this
Right.
thing and it's giving me, and I came up with Lucky Strikes, right? So I was like, that was
Nice.
so helpful. And that is in a way that AI can help you, that we were using these tools back in the early 2000s when I was writing this song. They
Mm-hmm.
just weren't AI. They were like some, library of information. And this is just a faster
Right.
way to access that.
Well, and I think that is in so many areas. I know for myself because I do use AI in a lot of things of my life, actually,
Mm.
and I'm guessing you probably do too.
Yeah,
Um,
let's talk about that, because I think, we have a lot of women listening to this, watching this, and they would appreciate ways to help you organize your life.
well, I know, like for me, writing emails, especially to my people on my email list, like
Mm,
fans, and because a lot of times it's like, what am I going to write about? And it doesn't mean that I have them write the whole email, but it'll be that thing of like, I'll put in, can you give me some ideas? Or like last night, literally, I I put into like the chat of, um, what do people want to hear about in musicians' lives?
mm.
Just because
Interesting.
I just didn't have any idea in my head and I wanted to write something to my fans. with also advertising a concert. And so it just gave me right away, like 5 different subjects. And I just went on one of them. And I did actually use my own words. It wasn't that I had them write the whole email, but sometimes I will do stuff like that. In fact, it's another thing, but when I was going, when this music school that I just started teaching at, where I'm doing online or in-person lessons, I had to put out a resume to different
Mm.
schools. And I literally took like an old bio and then just, put it into, I think it was Chat GPT or something. And I said, create a resume. And it was
Oh,
fabulous.
right. It just took information you had and reorganized it into the format that they needed.
Exactly. So, and I
Yeah.
tweaked it a little bit or whatever, but it was so fast and perfect because it's like I didn't have a lot of time, but I needed something and like a cover letter too. I think I needed
I,
something
I
like
was
that.
gonna say cover letter is like a perfect, it's such a like throwaway, but it still needs to exist and it.
Right. So it was perfect and stuff like that that would have honestly been like, oh, I have to do this. And so it's not just saving me time, it's allowing me to not get stuck on something and then put it
Yes.
off,
Yes.
to procrastinate on it.
I will tell you one thing I do, and I'll go into how I use it in my business for sure, but this is kind of a cool thing. So I'm a worship director also, as you know.
Yeah.
And what I created was my worship planning GPT. And I
Oh,
basically said, like, here are all the songs that I've ever done for the congregation. I fed it like this big spreadsheet. And
yeah.
here actually I gave it like the spreadsheet of like for the last 3 years or something. Here's all the songs that I've done. Here's the Sundays I've done them. So it knows, like, don't, I tell them like a lot of really specific instructions, like, don't pick any of these songs I've done in the last month because I don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
annoy them with the same songs.
Right.
But it knows all the songs, and then I feed it like the sermon topic and the scriptures, and it know like I don't even have to put the stuff there. It can look up the scriptures real quick, and and then I'm like, okay, here's kind of the structure of our service, and I need like maybe one or two hymns and like three or four contemporary songs, and give me 10 choices for each, and you know make it more based on the gospel reading than the Old Testament or whatever. Like I make it very specific. But
Yeah.
now all I have to do is just put in the plans every week of like what it is, and I have been able to plan out like, luckily I have a pastor that plans in advance. So I have like 3
Yeah.
months of planning done through this GPT, and I can do it all in one day
Which
instead
is
of what it would
fantastic.
take, because I'm still making choices, right? It's giving me all these
Right.
ideas. Oh yeah, I wouldn't have thought of using this song. And then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I hate all the choices and I'm like, I don't like these. I want to focus on this. Like, are there any songs that would be better for this than what you already chose? And, it's always a back and forth, but I used to just like have to scour through the list and go like, oh, which song would be good? And, look up things online about like, read the whole scripture myself and try to meditate on what would be perfect. And this just cuts that down.
Yeah, and when you're having to plan, like in a music director position where you are constantly
Yes.
planning, plan, plan,
Yes.
plan, 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 you have to be able to have things that are time savers.
Yeah, I'm so thankful. But like, it wouldn't be good if I just went to it and every week and just said, here's the thing. Like, I have put in very specific instructions,
Yes.
of like, don't give me the same songs over and over again. And, and I need this many of this style of like, it knows the difference between a hymn and a contemporary song. And, so
Yes.
it's very cool, what you can do, but you have to know enough to be able to build it correctly and all that. But it's not that hard.
No. I another thing though I do think is fantastic even for musicians, like if you struggle writing like a contract
Hmm.
or an invoice, or I mean just all those things, you can create them so
Oh yeah,
fast.
it could create you an invoice, a PDF so fast.
And so I always just want to encourage people, like if you're having to do that piece of your career, you know, where you're like in my world booking gigs or whatever, it's just to be able to create those so fast that you don't have to think, and then you have a template for it too.
Yep. Yep. Also, like if say you're writing articles or newsletters or whatever, and you want like an illustration or something, you're trying to make a point, It
Yes.
does really well with that. Like I've, tried to create like, oh, this is my framework for this, and it's in a triangle, and this is on this side, and it's very quick, and it does a really good job instead of me trying to draw it and then take a photo or whatever. It's just really fast. I think around that, like images are a very tough subject. There are people very polarized on, AI artwork and that
Hmm.
kind of thing. That's a hard conversation. I think musicians dabble in that a little bit, and that there's album art and things we use for our marketing and stuff. Do you have any opinions on that?
Well, I don't know that I like have a, line in the sand yet about it, but I definitely I don't like things over AI generated,
Mm.
especially if it's like what someone looks like.
Ugh,
I
I hate
actually
that.
it's weird. The other day I saw it was some reel that came up on, I think it was Facebook, and it was showing stars of how they put like their picture like for some gala event or something, and then how the photographer actually photographed them, and the photograph was still a really like great picture because it was a professional, but it was amazing to me the subtle differences of whether it was making them thinner,
Mm.
younger. I mean, it just and it I mean, I understand celebrities are going to do that, but I just like people to be real. And I also think as an artist, if you show up someplace and you've got this AI picture and you look nothing like it,
Oh yeah.
it can really offset people. So so there is that piece of marketing where I just think, you know what? We don't need to look so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just be real. Because honestly, I do think people want authenticity too. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think I'm very, I don't know. I get worried about doing it just because I feel like I'm gonna miss something that's gonna look really bad. I make an image and I'll be like, yeah, but what if there's something in there I'm not noticing? And then people are gonna be like, ooh, that was AI. So I generally don't want to use it.
Mhm.
But I also understand, like, if you're releasing a single a month or a week or whatever, and you
Sure.
need art, you need a
Yeah.
lot of art.
Right. Well, and especially in maybe it's an image or whatever, I'm like, well, maybe that's perfectly fine. Because if you want to come up with something that, even kind of lets people dream a little bit, if it creates like a scene that's not even real, but it's sort of like
Mm,
when you read a book and you have to imagine.
right.
It's I don't think that's terrible. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and as one someone in my community said, it's probably not taking anything away from some artists because you wouldn't have been afford to pay them anyway, you
Right.
know,
No,
right?
it's true. It's true. Even something, this isn't about photography, but when I wrote my book 2 years ago, all the editing I had AI do
Mm.
instead of paying an editor. Now I still kind of tweaked it.
I do kind of wish in 2019 when I wrote my book that I had that option because editors aren't cheap.
I know.
Mine was actually really, really, really reasonable, and she also helped me with the cover art and stuff. So I was very
Yeah.
thankful. But man, I mean, editing's a lot of work.
It is, and that's something that I still do. In fact, I wrote a review for somebody the other day, and I wrote the review first, and then I put it into AI just to tweak it, just so that
Hmm.
it sounded a little bit better. Um, and then gave it to her, and I felt like it was more polished. And I do that actually quite often. Again, so
Mm.
it's like, yes, I'm going to use some of my writing skills, but maybe to make it just a bit more, especially if it's something going into print.
Yeah, yeah. You can't take it
It's
back.
it's not
Yep.
just a post on social media or something. So,
Yep. I would say, I mean, and we can get into now, like as you were mentioning earlier about emails and stuff, and I use AI all the time. Not to write it per se, but I have a whole system around it, and everybody in my community knows this. I've kind of taught it to them.
mhm.
But there's things you got to have in place before you do that. And that's what we have been teaching in
Mm,
2026 in our
yeah.
community because we want to make sure if you're going to use AI, you don't want it to, be a bad publicity for you. And so we teach, you're creating your brand book and having your voice guardrails and having a whole system around creating your content. So there's checks and balances and all of that. And I would never be doing it because when I first tried AI, I hated it. Like what came out was awful. Like it's very tempting because it's fast, but
Right.
I didn't use it because I didn't like it at all. I used it a little bit, and even now I go back and look at some stuff I put out in 2024, and I'm like, ooh, cringe! Like that was clearly AI. But back then we didn't know those were telltale signs of AI, right? Like there was all
Right.
the M dashes and the whole I don't know if you've seen this, but like the triplet things drive me nuts. And every day I'm telling it, I hate this. Why do you keep doing this? It's maybe you blah blah blah, and maybe you blah blah blah, and maybe you did this. And I'm just like, ah, so you can get as frustrated with it as you can with one of your children, because they're not listening to you. And that's why
Yeah.
you really need those guardrails, because at least then you're starting at like a set point that's way above just the regular what AI will put out. But
So,
you need to be back and forth with it. You can't just take what it gives you.
yeah, so what would be, I guess, one thing, if somebody hasn't really delved into AI at this point, or they're scared to, or they're just like, I don't even really know where to start. Do you have something that you kind of tell people, like, here's a good starting point, or something that maybe, I don't
Yeah,
know,
I
they
mean,
can
I would
start
say
experimenting?
we would, I mean, you can experiment, but I don't think you're going to get what you want if you're creating things for your artist brand until you've created a brand book that you can upload behind it and your voice
Mm.
guardrails. And that's why we've been teaching that inside of FMA this year, is
Hmm.
because no matter what, if you don't have that, you're going to be frustrated with what you get, and you're going to have to tweak it, and then you're not going to feel like it's saving you time.
Mm.
So it's made a big difference. And a lot of it also is just about your flow. Like for me, I'm a talker, as you might notice. And so I that's why I'm a podcaster, but I
Right.
love to talk out everything. This is how I come up with my content. It's like I'll be on a walk, I'll have a great idea for something, and I'll immediately come home and talk it all into my AI of choice
Hmm.
and get it out of my head. And it's obviously very messy when it comes out of my head and it's audio, but it's all out there. And then I'm like, make sense of this. Like, can you, make this
Mm.
into how I want it. And I'll say things like, I want you to start with the story. I gave you a story, start with that. Make sure you create some curiosity at the beginning so people keep reading and that kind of stuff. And I have a whole like set of instructions behind it so it knows like the kind of, and this is what we teach inside of FMA too. It's like having
Hmm.
the set of instructions and, you know, not having to start from a zero prompt every time. It's like you've created this project and it knows what you want now.
Yeah. I think that's wise too when you're just even saying that you talk it, because I know sometimes for people they feel like, well, what am I supposed to even write? And sometimes, yeah, if someone's more that that's your go-to is talking something out loud, it's going to be far more helpful. I had a friend of mine who's an author, and her whole chapter she basically talked.
Yep.
And so because she said, I don't, when I, she said, like typing, she said, I just doesn't really do it for me. And so I think, and that's fine because it's still your ideas.
Absolutely. But we all do it differently. My husband, he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I could never do that. I have to type. When I'm typing, it helps me think through it."
Yeah.
So it's just how are you wired?
Mm-hmm. Which is great. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to end by talking about maybe some ways we're using this in our personal life, which I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
can be really helpful. I mean, this is a silly thing, but like I've set a task to check like deals at certain stores whenever they come up,
Oh,
so I don't have to like go look at their circular or whatever. I've set it
yes.
up to be like every Wednesday, send me a message and tell me if any of these things are on sale and at what store.
Perfect. I love it. Yes. I was thinking I do definitely use it in my personal life too, like that. I had one where I was searching for, I don't know, it was like a good shoe or something like that. And I was like, give me the top 10, shoes of walking shoes for people over this age and
Yep.
just so that I could have a start for even what I was looking at. And then like, yeah, where to find them. Or the other thing that's definitely come up is planning a trip
Mm-hmm.
and finding, like what are the areas, where are places that I could go to that would be interesting, and you know, what are the some of the key spots to see. And it's amazing. Trip itineraries. I mean, just anything that you can
Even like
put in.
restaurant menus and stuff, because,
Yes.
like we're going to a restaurant and it's 30 minutes away, and I want to be able to think in advance if there's anything there I want to eat,
Yes.
instead of having to be put on the spot and I've got
I
30 minutes to figure it out anyway. So,
I know that my boyfriend has actually done that a lot where he has put in, like what are the best restaurants here in the Twin Cities, and, at least 4.7 stars or more.
mhm.
Where are they? What are their price ranges, And so we've gone to some really amazing places just because of that, trying it out. And sometimes they're just they look like a little hole someplace, but like I wouldn't normally look for that, but it's fun to find.
Yeah,
And
it's kind
if
of
it's out on the
Yelp
web,
or Google on steroids.
yes. But that's the cool thing. Anything on the internet, if it's out there, AI can seem to find it.
Yeah, no, I mean, there is definitely ways to game the system, as there were with Google,
Right.
right? Some restaurants, they haven't put in any work on their AI searchability and, having
Hmm.
the certain things they need to on their website, or, getting onto Yelp or whatever. I don't know where it pulls from, but like I'm sure there are certain things that it looks for to
Yes.
choose those restaurants over other restaurants.
Well, and even places I have noticed of anything having a website, there are still places that don't really have, like, you can find I did this with, I had someone give me a certificate for a pedicure. And so I was looking for good places, and it's, in reviews and stuff like that. But there were some that, like, yeah, you could find it on Google, but it didn't have any kind of website presence.
Hmm.
And it kind of blew my mind. In fact, I know we're not talking about that, but it just reiterates that fact of having, you know, a place on the internet that if you've never had that, you better have one.
I think that's a really good point, actually, is that we may think now, oh, now that AI is here, I don't need a website. And I think that actually means you need a website more.
Yes,
Because
for
otherwise,
sure.
how is it going to find you when it's looking for information? Because yes, it can find stuff on social media, but you probably you don't get enough space like in your little bio on social media. And I don't know that it's going to go look through all your posts to
Mm-mm.
know like enough about you
Yeah.
that it would recommend you, versus if you're putting it on your website and it's in your bio and all that. You can have, what are the genres that you do, and where, what cities are you in, and, all the things that it would pull when that someone might, do you do weddings and funerals, and, these things that
Yeah.
someone might be searching.
Right. So this
So
has
yeah,
been
I think
good.
it does make a website even more necessary.
It does. And I have even noticed on my own website, there's always places where you can see like how many people you've had visit. And sometimes I'm actually shocked. Like there was a day recently where I'm like, what was that about? Like it wasn't like I put out an email or a post that day. So I'm thinking, why that? I don't know. Is it somebody searching something? I don't know. So, um, but it's good to know that people are
Yeah, and I
landing
think
there.
this even brings up, kind of that branding thing where people are like, I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I don't want to say I'm in this genre or that genre. I don't want to, they don't want to be tied down. They don't want to be
Mhm.
categorized. But I
Mhm.
think AI is categorizing, right? And
Yeah.
so if you don't put
Yes.
yourself in any categories, it's not going to say, oh, here's one of the top 10 jazz artists in Houston. If you
Mhm.
don't put that on your website, that you're a
Yes.
jazz artist in Houston.
Yeah. That's such a good point. So maybe even as artists, we have to start thinking in the ways of like, however we brand ourselves too, like what would we search for?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
So,
Yes, and I do think we have more opportunity to be found now than ever, honestly.
hmm
Because
hmm
before it was like, okay, only the top 5 things that come up on Google for that thing are even going to be seen. They're going to be crowded out by all these
correct.
ads. I think
Yes.
fewer people are going to Google because it's just annoying because they're summarizing everything instead of giving you easy links.
hmm
But I also like I find this summaries to be less helpful than if I just go to ChatGPT and ask it a question.
It's
Um,
true.
and I'm sorry, like my youngest daughter, she's a Gen Z, she hates AI, and she's like, "Why aren't you just going to Google? Like it's the same thing." And I'm like, I understand where you're coming from, but it's not. It takes me so much more time when I go to Google because
It's
it's
true.
not giving me exactly what I'm asking for.
I literally this morning, I don't even know why I did it to be honest, Bree. I guess it was something else. I was reading some devotional or something. It was talking about names, but I was looking at my name on Google just to see like what it came up with because I know the meanings of things. And it was more of like summaries of things. And like I had to keep clicking to actually get to what I wanted.
Hmm.
So it was irritating.
It is irritating. I feel like if I'm searching for something, I don't want the the watered down version. I want the thing, you know?
Yeah. So maybe that's something to think about too with AI of just kind of like, what can we put out there? What do we not want to? Or I don't know.
And what can we put that is I think that's another thing to mention too is that like AI can both overgeneralize things and over explain things. And that's something that we should be very careful in when we're creating content in there.
Yeah.
Like it can make you so vanilla, right? And
hmm
like take out like little nuances or little things that you would say that only you would say, right?
Yes.
But it also can then like I feel like it's dumbing down things to my audience. It's like explaining something in 3 paragraphs that I think could be
Yes.
explained with a metaphor and be more interesting,
True.
you know?
Very true.
So I think as songwriters and we need to think about that like say more with less because
hmm
AI always wants to say more with more
More. It's
and
true.
also say more with interesting quirky only things that saying in things saying things in the way that only you would say them to stand out. And
Yeah.
that's where
And
I go back and I blah, I vomit all of my information out loud, then I have it reorganize it, and then I go in and I put in little like Easter eggs or whatever of like
yeah.
things that relate specifically to me or my life that I want to make sure to say that it would never say.
And that's important because if you think about people reading what we're putting out, like if it's a newsletter or anything, when I read a really great book, it is those intricacies of how someone describes something that just get me pulled into a story.
Yep,
And that to me, that is very human. I'm not sure that AI can generate something like that.
it can't. It can't. Well, wow, this conversation has gone all over the board and back
Yes.
around to how can we use AI to be more human, which
Right.
I think the point.
Yeah, it's
We
true.
don't want to use AI to be, I never want to be like these people that literally do their whole podcast with AI.
Right.
Like, why? What's the point of that? Nobody's going to want to listen to that. They can
I,
produce a podcast every 5 minutes that way, and then it's
right.
not special.
And I think that just of making sure that but we still can use technology to our benefit,
Hmm.
but let it be a help, not this hindrance where it pulls us away from who we are. So,
Yes,
all
absolutely.
right.
Well, this has been super fun as
Yeah,
usual,
of
and a bit
course.
spicy, so I love it. That's my favorite kind of conversation.
Yay.
Well, you guys, we are always looking for things to talk about. So
hmm
please reach out to us on Instagram. I'm at Profitable Musician LLC, and Tara
And
is at
Tara Brueske music.
Yes, reach out to us. Let us know if there's anything you'd like to get our hot takes on. We would love to have more material to talk about when we
Yeah.
come together on these shows.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, you guys.